Okay, cool. And so what problems have people been facing? George, what have you been helping people with? Is there anything in particular that could be helpful for our listeners?
Yeah, so lots of things in the past week, Lou. One thing I think that really stood out is somebody asked me about, I suppose, just a little bit of a analysis, opinion, whether I had any stats behind it. She said to me that their business is really quite niche, or well, she was in the US, so her business is very niche.
Yes.
Very niche. For any US listeners, it's not niche, it's niche. Well, potato. Either way, either works. It's fine. So anyway, what she's saying is they do a lot of work in the PE space, investment banking, and I think they were very, very focused by memory on operations roles. It was pretty much all that they did was operations in private equity. And what she's found is that the more great work they do for customers, the more customers are coming to them as a business with problems in different areas. Can you help us in sales, or can you help us in finance, or whatever it might be, technical roles within some of their portfolio companies, lots of different opportunities. And she didn't know from a business development perspective whether they were best to diversify, to broaden the scope, or whether they were best to remain as niche as they have been. So I'm going to pass that one to you, Lou. What do you think?
Yeah, I think people can get asked it before people join the training, and not so much once they've joined, which is funny, isn't it? Well, probably not, not coincidentally, because I think the course actually helps people to realise and see their own answer to that. So I hear it from a lot of the people that I consult with that are interested in moving to retained. Do we need to be niche? Is it a bad thing to be too specific? And my answer to that is, I think, in my experience, it's a bit risky. And I have seen people caught out by being too niche. The firm I worked for a long time was very, very niche, and very nearly went under when the oil price crashed. Everything just fell off a cliff because it was so niche in development projects in oil and gas. And when the oil price crashed, every single development project got put on hold. Every single company that was hiring for development projects stopped hiring. And if we'd carried on that niche, then it would have been certain death.
Yeah.
And luckily they moved and changed very quickly, and we pivoted, and I'd started to have fingers in other pies anyway, so we moved into downstream chemicals, specialty chemicals, infrastructure, energy, process, you name it. It changed overnight. So that's why I always advise, and I've always since then had like fingers in other pies. I'll give you another example. One of our guys, Nick, I think we talked about this last time. Did we talk about this last time?
I don't remember. No.
One of our guys, Nick, he was very specific in SaaS, and of course the investment for SaaS firms has just completely stopped, where it's been booming for so long, and that meant that everything he had just completely stopped, and he quickly then had to move into tech, into other areas. And other people that I'm coaching, weirdly, coincidentally, another Nick, but a different Nick, who is in insurance and insurtech, and his insurtech work has just stopped completely, but his insurance work is on the up.
Yeah.
So my advice then, a long way of answering the question, and I always advise people to not be too niche, or have a niche, but then also have a few tentacles in other things as well, so that as and when that kind of drives, and everything goes through phases, everything's up and down, isn't it?
Yeah.
But when something slows, something else is taking off.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's nice to have a speciality and not be too broad, because you can't be all things to all men. And if, like Sarah says, our marketing head, if you market to everybody, you market to no one. So there's no
Yeah.
point trying to be abroad.
And I think a couple of points I'd add. Firstly, I don't think you need to go out there and look to diversify. I think if you're good at what you do and you solve problems for customers,
Yeah, exactly.
they'll come to you wanting help in different areas often. And it's
Which is why when people say, "Oh, one of my clients has come to me asking if I can do this, should I do it?" I almost always say yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. If it's outside my niche, even better. Brilliant.
You've experienced that, Lou, to a point over the past few years, right? The more that we've done, people in different geographies come to us, and we've gone from working in one country to probably about 30 countries. And with that, it makes our business more robust.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, different countries, different niches.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of it, but don't spread yourself too thin if you can't be all things to all men. So try and keep it coherent as well. It's nice to have a bit of a link between the two, and I was helping somebody make that link between the two. And he has like two quite different industries. One is pharma, and the other is private equity. Strangely, private equity is a nice field to be in. And he doesn't really want to stop his pharma, but he doesn't really want to stop his private equity stuff, because they're both legacies. The pharma's the legacy, and the private equity stuff's quite new but very profitable and very, very nice work. But he doesn't want to put any of them down, but he wants to grow. And so what we've just done is formed a narrative, so it makes sense that he does both of those things.
Right. Yeah.
So that his private equity work has been born from being asked by private equity firms that invest in pharma for his support. And therefore the two like fit quite nicely together. I work with private equity firms. That's taken me, I work with pharma, and that's taken me into private equity. And now I'm increasingly asked by private equity firms to help them across their portfolio.
Yeah.
So as long as there's you can normally weave some kind of narrative in that it makes sense.